Over the past few months, I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs set better and more structured goals so they can accomplish more in less time. And one thing that so many entrepreneurs don't realize is how thinly spread they are, and as a result they end up messing up their own goals because they overwhelm themselves with so many things that don't even matter. Hello, my name is Graham Singh. I'm the founder of GTM Academy. If you don't know, I run an academy of over 50 entrepreneurs. We do business consulting for entrepreneurs that are just getting started out, all the way to entrepreneurs that are doing over 4 or 5 million a year. Now, one of the things I often realize is that entrepreneurs do not structure their time very well at all, and they set very poor goals. And I want to give you a real-time example. In June, one of the things that myself and Adnan, my business partner, set out to do is we said we've got a financial target that we want to hit, and we were so convinced that this is the number one thing that all of our time and attention should be spent on. So what we did is we set up weekly meetings. So every week we'd have 2 meetings where we'd review the progress of what we are doing to hit this financial goal. And within that, the main things were we needed to re-script and record ads. We needed to get them live, and we wanted to double the budget of the ads as well. And we said, look, that's the main thing that we need to do. So that's going to be the focus. And we wrote this out, we wrote out a plan to do so. And as we started meeting every week, like twice every week, over 2 weeks, we ended up adding about 6 extra goals. We talked about rebranding. We talked about getting more testimonials. We talked about doing other things like changing a little bit of our offer, updating our ICP, all these little things that didn't actually move the needle, but they just kind of seeped into the goals. And as a result, what happened is that we started looking at the way that we spent our time, and it was not focused on the one thing that was going to help us move the business forward. What I realized from that was that you really have to be ruthless with the way that you spend your time. These little things, even myself, I always try to be very, very focused on how I'm spending my time. But even so, it's so easy for new ideas, new different things to seep in. And as a result, we weren't moving forward with the ads. We weren't getting the ads live as quickly as we could because we were starting to get distracted. We were starting to veer off path. And don't get me wrong, the testimonials, the rebrand, everything else would be really good. But was it actually driving us towards the one thing that matters? No. As a result, what do we expect? We're not going to grow as quickly as we could because we're getting distracted by things that don't actually matter. So the main message that I have for you is that if you want to grow, you have to have ruthless focus. Just one thing. Figure out what the most important problem is within your business and use all of your time and attention to figure out how to solve that one problem. Now you might be thinking, well, I've got so many different things that I need to solve. So how am I going to manage dealing with all these different things? And the truth is, you don't. You've only got one, but you keep telling yourself you've got lots of different problems to solve. The reason why you've only got one problem to solve is because often we might be able to say we've got 5 or 6 different things that are a problem. But as soon as we decide on the one thing that's the most important and we fix that problem, often what we find is that the other problems that we originally thought were problems just disappear. So to give you an example, I might say that my close rate's really poor and I need to fix that. And also I've got underqualified leads that are coming through. And also I've got low conversion rates for the people that are actually booking in a sales call and showing up. And you've got all these different problems. You're like, okay, I need to sort this out. I need to do sales training. I need to do this. I need to do that. But if, for example, you just increase the number of leads that were coming through, all these little things that you identified as problems, would they still remain as problems? Probably not. So the truth is, we often think we've got lots of different problems, but as soon as we solve one problem, it might actually fix the rest of the problems. If you increase your qualification criteria and you actually get qualified leads coming through, you might automatically also fix the show rate and your close rate. But you don't know until you actually figure out which problem is the most important one for you to solve. So it's really important that you figure out how you actually go about solving business problems. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I get it, I need to figure out what to solve, but I don't know how to, there's usually 3 reasons why you don't know how to. Number 1 is that you don't have the right data. Number 2 is that you don't know how to use the data. And number 3 is that you're scared to commit to focusing on one problem. So let's tackle all 3 of these individually. Number 1 is that you don't have the right data. If you don't have the right data, I recommend that you go and watch this video. The reason why is because on that video, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to do to actually get the right data. You actually need to be able to map out your business and understand the different components of your business so you can actually understand what data you need to collect. I've actually made another video. Once you've mapped out your business on one kind of page, the next thing that I recommend is you watch this video where I actually break down the data that we collect for our business that I'm sure is going to help you to understand what kind of data you should also be collecting. Now, every business is slightly different, so there's probably going to be a little bit different types of data that you need to collect for your own business. But this is a general guideline that I think will definitely help you out. that takes us on to problem 2, which is how can you actually use this data correctly? So I want to introduce you to a framework called ICE. And this is going to help you to understand how you can make the decision of what you should focus your attention on. So, for example, let's say that your business is getting 100 leads per month. Yeah? And this is one of the things that you're like, I could fix this problem. Another thing is that you've got a 50% show up rate. Okay? And then another thing is that you've got a 25% close rate. Okay? So let me just write this out. You might say that what you can do is you can get 100 leads to 200 leads per month. I'm just going to say L per M. You know what that means. You've got a 50% show rate, and you could turn this into a 75% show rate. And then you've got a 25% close rate, and you could turn that into a 50% close rate. So these are the different things that we could potentially do. And you might be sitting there thinking, okay, well, I get that. I understand that I can make these differences, but how do I actually make the decision? So this is where ICE comes in. So you've got I, which stands for impact. Okay. C, which stands for confidence. And then E, which stands for ease. So let's break this down. If you had 100 leads per month go to 200 leads per month, that could 2x your business. If you had a 50% show rate go to a 75% show rate, that could 1.5x your close rate. And let's say you had a 25% close rate and you could get that to a 50% close rate, that again could 2x your revenue. You might look at these and be like, okay, I get that, right? Like I understand how these different things are going to have a different level of impact within my business. The next thing that you look at is confidence. So how confident are you that you could absolutely do this? What I typically do for this is I try to do this from a scale of 0 to 1. And I say like, okay, as a percentage, roughly what would that be, or as a decimal? What I would say is for confidence, let's say I've got 100 leads and my confidence to get 200 leads per month, I would say that I'm very confident that we could get a high increase in leads. So I'm going to say I'm 0.9. So that's out of 1. From 0 to 1, I'm a 0.9. Okay, so very confident. The show rate, I might have a 50% show rate and I'm thinking, to get it to a 75%, I don't really know what I need to do. I think that we could make an increase, but I'm not very confident. So I give it a 0.2. Then a close rate, I might say, okay, I can go from a 25% to 50%. And I say with the right sales training, I'm quite confident we could do that because currently our team doesn't have much training. So I'm like, okay, we could do that with a 0.5%. So, 0.5 confidence level. And then it's the same thing for ease. How easy would this thing be to do? So I say, in terms of ease, 100 leads to 200 leads a month, it's very easy. I just literally click on my ad spend and I double it. So that's the easiest thing in the world to do. It would take me 2 seconds to do. I could do it today. 50% show rate to 75% show rate, that's actually really difficult. So the more difficult something is, the lower you want to rate it because you want it to have a lower score, so it affects your score lower. So I might say that's a 0.1. And then a close rate, 25% close rate to 50% close rate, I would say that it's actually quite easy to do that if I just call someone up and say, do the sales training, for example. And I might say that's a 0.7. And this is the framework that you use to understand what to focus on. Because then if you literally just multiply these numbers together, it will tell you what's the easiest to do. And I'm just going to, if we look at this, you've got 2 times 0.9 times 1, which gives you a score of 1.8. You've got 1.5 times 0.2 times 0.1, which is 0.03. And then you've got 2 times 0.5 times 0.7, which is 0.7. Which one should I do first? This one, because it's got the highest score. Then I should do this one, and then I should do this one. But what might happen is that as this happens, as I double the number of leads, my close rate might automatically go up because the team naturally gets better at closing people because they get more reps in and more experience. Another thing might happen in terms of there's more leads coming through, so we actually realize that a 50% show rate is completely fine and we don't care about it and we just rule it out as a problem. This is why it's so important to be able to look at your business strategically and say, where should I focus my attention? What's going to have the biggest impact? What I'm most confident will happen? And what's going to be the easiest thing to do? I look at this and I think, okay, perfect. I can make a really easy decision of where all my attention should be. And that's literally as simple as it gets. The third thing that people struggle with is actually making a decision to commit to something. You might be looking at these three and you might be thinking mentally, oh, I don't want to commit to one because I should try and solve all my problems. Reason why is because you've got a fear of ignoring some things and some fires burning within the business. You need to reset your expectations because that's always going to be the case. There's always going to be things that you could solve that you're not going to have time for. So stop trying to deal with everything. Stop trying to put all the fires out. The way that I would think about this is that other fires will burn. You've got one fire that if you keep letting this burn, the business is going to crumble, but you can survive with these two things. So you let those things go on, right? You let them be poor. You let them be ugly. You let them be not what you want them to be, because you know that this is the winner. This is the thing that's actually going to move the business forward. So this is what you do. It's going to have the biggest impact on revenue, most confident you could do it, and it's the easiest thing to do. So this is how I think about things. And this is not only how you have to think about this, you also have to make sure that your team and the people around you, the people that work within your business, think this way. Because if you are like, oh, this is definitely what we should do, but then your team is really focused on trying to figure out your show rate and fix that, it's a waste of resources. It's a really, really low lift compared to the other things that you could be doing. First thing is, get a clear priority. Stop worrying that things aren't going to work out the way that you want, and just focus on the things that you know are going to have a big impact and that you can do. So this is the framework. This is the ICE framework. Don't be scared to commit to things because you're in business. You already took a risk by becoming a business owner. Don't be afraid of continuing to take risks. That's what pays off. That's what's actually going to allow you to grow. Allow some fires to burn, because if you don't, you're just going to spread yourself too thinly, like I said at the start of the video, and as a result, you're never going to see any progress. You're not going to see any movement. The last thing that I'm going to recommend is that if you watch this video and you felt like this was really useful, it helped you to clarify how you should think about your business and how you should prioritize, I ask you, please share it with someone that you think needs to hear this advice. Share it with someone that is spread too thinly. Share it with someone that is struggling to make decisions within their business, because if you do, you can make their life better, and as a result, they'll thank you for it. Thank you very much for watching and supporting this video. If you enjoyed this, definitely check out one of these videos. I'm sure they will be useful for you too, and I will catch you on the next episode of the IWIN series.